Yeah, when I think about IoT onboarding at scale, I really think of our customers and our customer journey. And before we kind of come up with how we best do this, I want to work from our customers and work backwards from their problem versus some other approach. And when we talk to them, our customers' two biggest challenges that we see are time to revenue and ROI. ROI is pretty straightforward. It's a math problem, right? We've done it all day long. That's how projects get funded. But if you look at it from a time to revenue perspective, that's what system integrators, and that's also what SaaS providers look at. And that is, how do I compress that time to market such that I am billing out ARR revenue for my SaaS solution or my system integrated solution? And so we have to kind of peel that back even further with our customers, saying, hey, well, what are those challenges that prevent you from getting to that time to revenue and ROI-based approach? And what we see really is fragmentation. We see a lot of fragmentation with multiple connectivity standards, whether that's LoRaWAN, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, cellular, satellite, proprietary wireless. I could go on, right? It's a big challenge to be able to integrate all those in. But then also looking at device management. It's very complex. It's hard to do. Not everybody runs their schemas the same way in terms of how you integrate that in to be able to do proper device management. Then there's integration issues. That could be hardware, software, doesn't matter, which all creates scaling difficulties, which is fragmentation again. So success in this scenario requires integration, and integration with a partner like MultiTech. So as I also look at it, I ask myself, well, where is a traditional hardware provider, where do we spend all of our time? Where do we work with our customers? Well, it's really in that design and integration phase. Let's take an opportunity for energy management, right? I look at the use case and I say, hey, it's energy management, this is great. I can get in my new CT300 wireless clamp, I can work with the customer to get the data off there that they want, I can work with them to integrate that into the gateway. How are they going to get that data out? Are they going to push it up over Wi-Fi? Do they have access via the IT group to be able to get it out over Wi-Fi or Ethernet? Or do we have to go out of band and push it up over cellular? And once I have that understood and taken care of, I really start to look at, well, who's your LNS? What's your LNS strategy? Are you partnered with Things Industry for that, or do you need an on-prem embedded solution? And then we work towards pumping that data into the customer's cloud account, which typically, is either using MQTT or over BACnet. And once we do that, we're like, hey, this is great. I got my first order. This takes probably 12 months worth of design is what we normally see. And we get that order for the first couple hundred, and we say, hey, this is great. These customers are going to scale. But all of a sudden, 3 months into it, that same order is still there, and they haven't scaled yet. And we have to ask ourselves, why? What are they struggling with? And what we found with our customer is that they're not only struggling with that, they're also struggling with secure network connections. So I got a site location I've got to go get. I've got a real estate map I've got to ingest. I've got to figure out where I'm going to put the sensors, where I'm going to put the gateways, right? I got to go conduct a site survey. How am I going to conduct that site survey? I'm going to build a bill of materials off of that. Do I need 2 gateways, 3 gateways, 20 sensors, 50 sensors? They're all dealing with this. Then they have to pre-configure their devices. They have to deploy those devices, fold that into their operational software infrastructure, and then get validation. And once they get validation, that's when they get sign-off. That's when you actually start billing your ARR. But wait, there's more. The customer is also dealing with a prep, deploy, install, and support group, right? They're the ones on the phone with IT, talking about with the IT infrastructure, understanding what you can and can't do, how it works from a security perspective, how you actually can configure those devices once you've had a conversation with IT. How do you get installation and support? So installation and support, we've gotten numerous calls on a Friday night with someone doing installations that's having challenges, right? So it's not easy, right? And then they fold that into their operational software stack. And then lastly, how are you going to handle asset management? And when I think of asset management, I think of things like FOTA, changing out batteries, how am I going to replace these devices, right? How am I going to be able to work at it from a security perspective, and how am I going to look for security threats? So these are all of the things behind the scenes that we may not be privy to that our customers are actually going through in order to stand up an IoT solution from a SaaS perspective. So from a MultiTech perspective, we've chosen onboarding at scale, which consists of provisioning, orchestration, onboarding, device management, and network management day 2. And what does that mean? It means the edge layer, talking up to the communications infrastructure, talking into the application. And that's the same thing that we just talked about in terms of that integration work that you do on the front end. Our cloud platform, MultiTech Cloud, hangs off that, but has to interact with edge devices, with the communications gateway, and fold seamlessly into the customer's application such that it views as a single pane of glass. If we don't have that, it's burdensome for the customer, and that's the challenge that they've been struggling with today. If you look at the onboarding stack, right, you've got business applications, UI, UX, you got the sensors, the gateways, the LNS, eSIM profiles, network operator connectivity management. The customers can go and stand this up. Our customers can from a SaaS perspective, but they ask themselves, why? I would rather deploy my 2 or 3 resources for 12 to 16 months on generating revenue for the SaaS application versus having to stand up this device onboarding and orchestration. They'll do it if they have to. In a lot of cases, they do. But they're looking for partners to be able to go do that, and that's what MultiTech does. This is easily 12 to 16 months worth of work. So what is it? Right? It's really simplified configuration of sensors and gateways tied to the LNS of your choice. So if a customer wants to bring the LNS, is it Things Network? Is it on-prem? You know, for us, we don't care. We just want to be able to integrate with whatever that is for the customer and make it seamless from an onboarding perspective. The payload and telemetry data, we don't want to typically mess with that. That's where the customer makes all of their money from an ARR perspective, right? That's pumping right into their application. We want to be able to give that to them and help them be able to ingest that as easily and simply as possible. And then the last one, which is cellular onboarding, right? There's provisioning your SIMs, there's MVNO, MNO. Customers may have enterprise-level contracts with the different carriers. You've got to be able to develop a process by which they can easily onboard their devices. So the cloud platform itself, right, is device management and network management day 2. What do I mean by that? You've got fleet management. We can take on third-party devices and ingest that data. Remote configurations for the gateways. Application deployment, and I'll say the word real-time monitoring, but it's as real-time as you can get from a monitoring perspective. But then you look at network management, and it's really day 2 network. Our customers sit there and wonder what RSSI is, ADR, SNR. We in this room might understand what that is, but our customers don't. They want to know how many bars they have, right? We want to help them understand that data at a deeper level. On the connectivity and orchestration side, if you're going into a failover scenario for cellular, meaning you don't have access because of the IT department, being able to easily onboard, auto-provision, manage the eSIM lifecycle, switch amongst carriers whenever you want to, and then be able to understand the usage analytics to be able to say, you just deployed a FOTA upgrade to all of your sensors. That's why your carrier bill is so expensive. You can head that off at the pass. And then from a platform capabilities perspective, it's really about API access, having rich API documentation. Third-party integrations have to be simple, and we make that simple for our customers. You've got to have enterprise-level security, and lastly, it's got to have single sign-on. And those are the multiple benefits down below in terms of what our customers experience. The strategic advantages by going to one partner to be able to implement this type of a solution, it's obviously 50% faster. You get 3 different partners trying to either create a solution together or the customer has to go stand it up, automatically goes to the increased complexity that we're talking about here by reducing the complexity by 50%. Because someone in that 3-chain vendor partnership is going to fall down and you're going to be delayed by 6 months. So partnering with a vendor like MultiTech can help you reduce the complexity and increase your faster deployments. It's got 20% lower TCO. Customer doesn't have to own this problem, you do, right? In terms of being able to handle device management and onboarding and orchestration. And then it obviously, with the capabilities that we have, you can go global in terms of your enterprise level rollout, right? So if you have carriers obviously in different countries, we have the capabilities to work with MVNOs and the eSIM to be able to easily configure those devices such that you can scale out at a massive level. Kind of want to just follow up with a couple of use cases that we see. First one is digital food safety. So we've got customers in the States that are quick serve restaurants. They want to go and deploy temperature management solutions. The SaaS providers provide digital temperature measurement solutions such that their end customers can make sure that they're within regulation and guidelines in terms of temperatures and perishable foods, right? The challenge is they are rolling out 4,000 devices. So how do I consistently do that in a time frame that I can actually hit with my customers? How do I get a global view across that enterprise of how these devices and how the network's actually behaving? And how do I get that performance? Really, again, I call it device and network management day 2. We were able to provide a single pane of glass view to that customer for device and network management. The SaaS provider can then focus their efforts on doing analytics and providing data to that, providing value to that data that they get from those digital temperature sensors, not standing up the devices and figuring out if devices are on or offline. And then lastly, it was really a predictive maintenance ROI. So you could actually predict if sensors were going offline, if we're having reconnects, things of that nature, such that customers could go out and deploy and either reinstall or troubleshoot those issues, right, and get a nice return on investment from that view. The other one is BMS integrators. I think everybody, and maybe in this room, we all look at it and say, boy, there's a lot of hardwired systems out there, right? Hardwired sensors going into hardwired gateways, going into a BMS. That's typically, it's mostly on-prem, but increasingly going into the cloud. And what we see is that they're leveraging LoRaWAN because it's a less expensive technology to overlay to those BMS hardwired systems. Why? Cable cost runs, right? It's very inexpensive to be able to go deploy that. The ROI is pretty straightforward. But they don't know a lot about wireless device management and wireless services. They've tried it. There's confidence challenges, I would say, in that arena. Onboarding and orchestration at scale, when you have 1,000 sites that you've got to go deploy, it can be quite daunting, especially when you add wireless into the mix from a BMS perspective. So what we're able to provide is that simplified, scalable process for customers to onboard. Easy way to integrate the data into the customer's BMS of choice. That's really, really important, which is we don't need to pump it to some other data visualization layer. You put it right into the existing BMS. That's where the customer wants it. And you give it to them in that view such that they can consume that data and it looks like they're just in their BMS. It's just another device that shows up. And then again, I'll highlight day 2, device and network visibility across the enterprise. So as I kind of sum up, when you're looking at different suppliers and you're looking at different partners to partner with, I show this screen just because MultiTech's got edge to cloud capabilities. They've had edge to cloud capabilities for a while. And I think the most important piece is, as you look at it from a partnering perspective, we're vertically integrated across engineering, manufacturing, and operations. And so picking a choice like MultiTech is a pretty natural when you guys have that, when we have that edge to cloud capability. That concludes, and we're over at booth A14, so stop by if you want to have further conversation. Thank you.